bold journalism,
But Drew Hernandez is a strong-minded individual.
exposing
Drew
lawlessness,
Hernandez, who is ideological
finding the truth,
and used the word Antifa.
This is what they do.
Battling
They're
mainstream
liars. The woke mob, all they can do is lie.
These are the front lines.
What's going on, thought criminals? Welcome to Frontlines. I'm your host, Drew Hernandez. We are here live at AmFest 2022. And I have with me the most notorious thought criminal of Arizona. Carizona Lake is in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh.
It is an honor to have you on my show. I'm so honored to have you here and to talk to you, especially coming from a position of being a reporter, independent, learning from people that have been down and gone through that lane before me. It is an honor to have Kari Lake on my show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to finally be here, and I love the work you do. I mean, some of the viral videos that you've put out have really exposed some of the hypocrisy of the left, and we expose them every day. And unfortunately, when they are running shady, shoddy elections, we can't beat them until we get our elections straightened out. And that's why I'm always beating the same drum. We have to have honest elections. We have to reform our elections because we can expose the madness of the left. And it's not even socialism. We're talking about communism here. This is not socialism. They're leading us straight off a cliff. On the other side of that cliff at the very bottom is communism. And so we can expose it. We can do a good job putting great candidates forward. We can expose the hypocrisy of the left, educate our young people. But if they are running these sham elections, then where does that get us?
And that's what totalitarians do. They rig their elections. They don't give a voice to the people. They claim democracy and all this stuff, but they give an illusion of freedom while making it look like it's actually happening. But in real time, they are having their dirty little paws on those levers and hands of power. I wanted to ask you,
and
Kari,
that's why it is the most important issue of our day. And it's uncomfortable to talk about because we know how the left works and how really it's fascism, how social media attacks us. They call us names. We have to just let that roll off our back like water off a duck's back. Because if we do not tackle this and reform our elections now, none of this will matter in a few years.
100%, and we will lose this country. Kari, I know you have a story that I wanted to talk about with you because a lot of people have their journey, right? They start in one place politically, but they end up in another further down the line in this journey we call life, right? So you've been through liberal media, you've seen how these people function, and now here you are on the other side. How has that journey been for you now coming out here? Like, I saw you last night give that speech. You're pointing to the direct camera. You're saying fake news. You guys are liars. You guys are pathetic. Like, it's incredible to see someone like that. And I think you inspire a lot of people that are going through that journey too, that may have been on one side politically, but now see the truth. Have you been seeing that as well as you campaign and you journey? You're seeing a lot of people that identify as that?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen people walk away from their jobs because the last few years, our eyes have been really woken up to what's happening, whether it be COVID, people being forced to leave their job because they didn't want their boss to tell them to get a shot they weren't comfortable with. And so we've seen a lot of people walking away, waking up to what's really happening. I have seen journalists walk away. I wish more journalists would step away from the fake news and say, I no longer can take part in that. And that was what happened to me. I mean, I was covering COVID, I was covering the 2020 election, and I'm like, this is not adding up. We are being used by the top corporate media to push an agenda that is hurting the American people. We are being asked and forced to push lies, and I just wasn't willing to do that anymore. So I walked away.
Yes.
Little did I know I would end up in politics. Honestly, Drew, if you would have told me 3 years ago when I was really struggling with working in the news, if you walk away, Kari, you're going to end up a politician, leading a huge movement, running for governor, and leading this reforming of our elections. I would have said, oh, come on, Drew, that's just way too fantastical. I can't imagine it. But when we step away and do the right thing, and truly when we hand our lives over to God 100%, the journey God will put us on is so much more amazing, fantastical, huge than anything we could ever imagine or create for ourselves. So I just, I walked away because I knew it was wrong. And I recognized that the work was not just unethical and biased, it really had become immoral. To sit there and tell lies to people is immoral. And so I walked away and handed my life over to God. And oh my gosh, He's put me on a journey. And even though our election has been run, has been stolen from us, I really do believe that God is a part of it still, that God is saying more eyes need to be opened. A lot of people didn't understand what happened in 2020. They weren't paying attention. There was too much minutia in there for them to wrap their minds around. What happened in 2022, a month ago in Arizona, you didn't need to crunch numbers to figure it out, because you were standing in line for 4 hours and your ballot wasn't being accepted, or you couldn't vote because the machines went down, the printers didn't work, and everything happened. You don't need to crunch numbers, read into analytics. You experienced it.
Well, it's a psychological game. You wear down your opponent mentally, right? Because if you tell someone, hey, come vote, you're super excited, come down to the polling space and you're going to be able to cast your vote. Oh, we're sorry, the machines don't work at 6 a.m, so just go to the other one down the street, or you can wait in a line for 4 hours.
The other one 20 miles away. There weren't, these are so far apart. We have testimony and a signed declaration in our case of a woman who's voted every year since 1980. And she said she went to 4 or 5 different places. Every place she went, 20 miles apart. She's driving 20 miles, trying to find a place to vote. She gets there. There's a 3-hour line. She's elderly. She can't wait 3 hours in line. She finds another one, another 20 miles away. These aren't close. She went on a 1-day odyssey trying to vote and was never able to vote. And in 41 years, she's voted every single election, and she couldn't vote. So there were thousands of people just like her who never could vote because of it.
100%. We're right now in this climate that we're in. Fake news. You are huge on calling out the fake news media cartel, because if there's anyone that knows how these people function, it's literally you, right? You've seen it. You've lived it. Where do you see us going right now? 2023, 2024. What needs to be done with the media? Total reformation. Where do we need to go as a nation?
Oh boy,
they're propagandists. I don't even like calling them media anymore.
Yeah, they truly are propagandists, and I think what needs to be done is waking up Americans to just not watch them. A lot of them are not making a profit right now. So you wonder who's really funding them, who's behind them. And we saw it during COVID with the vaccine and the big pharma. Big pharma pays so much money to the media to run their ads and push their agenda. That's why the media. Brought to you by Pfizer. Yeah, that's true. That's where they're making their money.
Yeah.
And they're making their money in big quantities through that. So that's why they're pushing that. If you think for a minute that the mainstream media is fair, look at who their sponsors are, and they will protect the people running ads over anything, over the truth. They're never going to run a negative story on their big advertisers, big pharma. You look around who's really advertising with them, and you'll see those are the people they're protecting. But I think what has to happen is we need to see, and we are seeing this happen, independent journalists that are rising up. I don't even watch the news anymore. I really don't. No. I look at your clips. I look at, so there's about a handful of people I really respect. I read what they're doing. I think with Twitter opening up to our, getting our First Amendment freedom of speech back on Twitter, that's huge. The more we open people's eyes, the more they will turn away from the lies and seek the truth. And there's so many ways to find the truth right now, because there's a lot of independent journalists doing the right thing.
Right now, we're in the timeline in American history where it is about the citizen. It is the citizen journalist. It is the citizen eye. It is the citizen that is standing up against this tyrannical regimes and machines that we see with big tech as well. We're going to come back. Right when we come back from the break, I want to talk to Kari about the Twitter files, the World Economic Forum. She's talking about COVID and everything that we've been facing, all these people that want to destroy our country. We're going to talk about it when we come back from the break with the great Kari Lake. And we are back with the great Karizona Lake, ladies and gentlemen. She is here live with us.
Oh, I tell
you
you
have
what.
The support of the people.
Wow. This is amazing.
Let me ask you this.
Love that. That's so sweet.
With great power comes great responsibility. When you see this falling on your shoulders and into your hands that I believe God has given you, how does that impact you? Because I see you on the stage and you're like, let me just take a moment to just like really just take this in. It's what does that mean to you?
It's beautiful. I mean, I see these beautiful young faces and I just say, I got to keep fighting for them. Did I want to be in this fight? I was thinking by now we would be transitioning and moving into the governor's office.
Yeah,
we have to get into this fight right now. And I'm going to be honest, Drew, there's been days where I just go, I don't want to have to do this, but I have to do this. I can't walk away. I can't look into these young faces and say, well, good luck. I had a great life. Enjoy communism. I can't do that. And I pray every single day. I pray all day. I pray every night. And I say, God, make me the leader you want me to be. I know you put me here at this moment for a reason. I know that you started this movement for a reason. And he did not start this movement of we the people to let it die this way. This is what I believe. I believe that we need to open more eyes to what's happening in the world. And while it is a heavy responsibility, I'm up for it.
Yes.
I have the wherewithal and the fight inside of me to make sure we see this through to the end.
And I think we see that God has empowered you, and that's kind of where we are too, where people are returning to God. They're bowing the knee to God because we know that God gave us this country and he got us in here and we're going to need him to save this country as well. So I definitely think we're seeing that. And speaking of like the world powers that we're all up against, in my personal opinion, I think one of the greatest threats to this republic is the World Economic Forum, Davos, and what these people are doing, making decisions. Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, which you mentioned yesterday, Lil Bill in Arizona, but also Big Bill with Microsoft as well, right? So, but these people are talking about depopulation. They're talking about controlling countries, dismantling the United States. People can go to the World Economic Forum website and read this for themselves. Who elected these people, Kari? Who made these people God or judges for our nation?
Well, you understand when they're talking about depopulation, because when you see a huge crowd and you see the people rising up and saying, we want our government back, how do they stop that? The only way to stop that is through some demonic idea like depopulation, because we are so much more powerful than they are. That's a small little group. We are millions and billions of people around the globe who are rising up and wanting our freedom. And they call it globalism. That's kind of a fancy sanitized word. It is worldwide oppression and communism.
Yes.
And the people will suffer so greatly if we allow that to happen. And that's why this is our moment. You know, I'm glad and honored that I am alive today. As difficult as this is, our ancestors had to deal with a lot of difficulty. We are so lucky to be alive right now. It's telling us that God thinks so much of us that he put us here at this critical moment in human history.
Yes.
This goes beyond American history. This is human history, and there's something very big happening. And we're finding out, this is kind of separating the men from the boys, as they say. We're finding out who are the true fighters. We're going to go down in history as a generation, I believe, that saved the world. Not just saved America, but saved the world. If we can get enough people woken up and get them to stay in this fight with us.
And that's exactly where we are, because people are making sacrifices. They see what's on the line. They know that they'll get canceled for coming out and standing up for America, or even mentioning the national anthem or anything that's pro-Americana. You could literally lose your job over this stuff. You could lose everything you have over this stuff. But right now, Kari, are we in a position in the American timeline where it is time to make some sacrifices?
Absolutely.
If you go down for standing up for America, that is what America literally is.
We have to be willing to get uncomfortable. We have to be willing to get uncomfortable. I got uncomfortable when I walked away from my huge paycheck. That was not fun. But I looked at my paycheck. I looked at my benefits and all that. And I said, what good is all that if we don't have a country to enjoy it? What good is that if my children are enslaved and don't have a future? Mm-hmm. We all have to look at what the things we value that are important and ask, are they really important? Or is our freedom important? Our liberty? Our children's future, our country, what's truly important? We don't need as much as we think we need. I've been living off my savings, and I'm getting poorer by the day, but I really don't care. I mean, President Trump lost a lot. He lost a lot of money. And
you always say, Kari, we got a country to save. And I think you really do mean that, because you could tell if someone's really about it by the sacrifices they've made.
That's right.
And so we appreciate your sacrifices, your family, your amazing daughter that does an amazing job on this show for Turning Point USA at large. We could definitely see the fight in her. Sometimes she's in the office just like, we could see it. We could see a lake.
I guess it's in the DNA, right?
It's in the DNA.
That's why I say they messed with the wrong woman. If they think that I'm just going to lay down and go, well, okay, steal an election, okay. No. Because you know why? If I walk away, who is going to fight for these people? It's going to be a lot harder for just a single voter out there. I'm fighting as a voter and a candidate for what happened, and I'm not going to walk away. And I just hope everyone stays with me in this fight, because it's not about me, it's about us, we the people.
Absolutely. Kari, so we have a full-blown assault on the family. Cannot define what a woman is. This society has lost its mind. trying to remove the father out of the family, to the point where if a family doesn't agree with the self-identifying pronouns of the kid, or they don't want to go through the transition surgery to mutilate their genitals, oh, that's child abuse. We're going to take the child away from. That's happening in this country, Kari. So as a mother, not future leader Kari Lake, as a mother, when you see these stories, when you hear this stuff, how does it affect your heart when you hear and you see this?
It is beyond grotesque, sickening, disgusting what they're doing. They're aiming their focus on our children. And that's one of the reasons I decided to get into politics, because I said, who's going to stand up for our kids? My goodness. And they want to let our kids make these decisions where they've, our children's minds are very malleable. And the power of suggestion is so strong, especially when it's an adult that a child trusts, to suggest that they can change their gender and have these surgeries that are just mutilating our children.
Yes.
And really wreaking havoc on them for life. It is so demonic and destructive, and it has to be stopped, and people have to stand up. And it's happened so quickly, Drew. I mean, if we would have even said 5 years ago or 6 years ago that this would be happening in our schools and our children, and that political people would be saying, yes, it's okay for a 12-year-old to make a decision about having surgery and puberty blockers, we wouldn't have even believed it 5 or 6 years ago. But here it is right before us, and we need to stand up and fight this. As a mother, it saddens me. I find it horrifying, and I'm going to do what I can to protect these kids. But we all need to step forward and say, stop the nonsense. Just stop the nonsense.
Absolutely. We need to protect our children. If we don't, we literally have nothing. And I also wanted to ask you, did you want to say something?
Really quickly, I mean, you've seen, I know that Turning Point has talked to some of these young people who were brainwashed into thinking that they can change their gender. And I've seen some of the interviews that you guys have done with these young people who are now 18, 19, 20, going, what did they do to me? My life will never be the same. And there's going to be a lot of lawsuits down the road, and there should be, but we need to prevent that from happening to our children.
They destroyed them. They destroyed these kids. When I'm doing these interviews with these detransitioners, these kids that are now 18, kind of their minds are developing a little more, and you could see in their eyes, I was lied to. I'm never going to be able to be a mother ever again.
That's the hard part.
It is so satanic and devastating. And to know that it is all about money. It's all about money. These so-called hospitals come out and they say, well, it's a moneymaker for us because they're going to be forever patients.
Oh, they will be forever patients.
It's insane.
And they'll be forever patients when it comes to the physical part and the mental and emotional part. It is true child abuse. It's abuse on humanity. And the worst part of it, when you hear them say, I'll never be a mother, that's what breaks my heart. The greatest gift that God gives us is our children. Absolutely. And the ability to be a mother or father. And to have that taken away there's no amount of money, there's no lawsuit, there's no way to make that better. And so we got to prevent it from happening. And this is where we need to stand up and say, stop, enough is enough. This is insanity. This is asinine, and we're not going to push it on our children.
Absolutely, Kari. One thing that I've been seeing is this is such a new phenomenon that they don't even have any explanations to the kids. When I talk to them, they're like, I go back to my so-called medical health care helpers, and they don't have any solution for me on how to detransition. They just kind of leave me to figure out on my own. What would your message be to the parents as well that are being left in the dark if they have regret, cannot believe I actually was lied to, I can't believe I did this to my kid, they're never going to have a future ever again, I can't even find help medically? What would your message be on a heart-to-heart to a parent that might be experiencing that right now?
It's tough. I really, as I said, there's really no making it better. You need to pursue legal action. But we need to have them get their story out to prevent it from happening to another child. And the more people talk about it, the fake news will cover the trans community and the children transitioning, and they'll cover it and celebrate it. Yeah. But they never cover the backside of that, the dark side of that. The majority of these people that I'm hearing about do end up regretting it.
Yes.
Just for even just the medical reasons, the difficulties they face medically.
Yep.
And so shame on the fake news for once again lying and not covering the truth. They celebrate something that is so destructive, and they never come in and cover the backside, the truth side of it. And this is why we need to, I think we need to really start looking at the media and their broadcast license and what they're pushing on the people, the lies they're pushing, and why do we continue to give them their FCC license to broadcast? Why do we give them that power when they're working against the people?
They're the ones that are hurting people. They're the ones that are lying. These people are getting people killed and mutilated over their lies. Kari is absolutely correct. We got about... Oh, did you want to
and
say
even what we were seeing in the so-called Summer of Love in 2020 when our cities were burning and they were out there celebrating that as peaceful protests, and we're watching our businesses burn. We're watching people get killed on the street.
Yep.
And the media is what they're seeing. They're describing something opposite of what's really happening.
Yes.
And Americans need to wake up and see that. This is like opposite day. It's always opposite day on the fake news.
They are propagandists.
Yeah.
They're not news. They're not reporters. They're not journalists. These people have an intention. They have an intentional agenda to bring your mind to a certain place.
That's right.
Because that's what we've seen in history,
Yeah,
right? They're
mind
state-run
control.
media, state-approved media. They're fake, and that's where we are right now. Kari, we got about 2 minutes left. If tonight was your last night on Earth, you had one message left, what would you say, not only to the American people, but to the world at large?
Wow. You know, I hate to even think about it being my last night, but I would just tell people to continue this fight. This is a fight worth having. This is our moment. And as I said, Drew, I really believe God put each and every one of us, and I look out and see this crowd, each and every one of us was placed here at this moment for a reason. God doesn't make mistakes. And we are perfectly equipped to save this country, to save this world. And we have to stay in the fight no matter what. As difficult as it is, as easy it would be to walk away and just bury our head in the sand because that seems easier, we will have nothing left. And so I just ask people to stay in the fight. And that's what I would do. And give them hope, because I do see a very bright future. I really do.
Absolutely. The best is yet to come. This fight is not over. It is not over by a long shot. Carizona Lake is not done. Kari, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you,
on
Drew.
Frontlines.
Oh my gosh, it's so sweet.
I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Wow. You have a great following.
There it is. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Drew Hernandez. These are the Frontlines. I'll see you guys on the next one.